Do you need some business perspective? When you're inside the bottle, it's really hard to read the label. You've probably heard that before, and I highly recommend you getting a mastermind. I've preached and preached and preached, or a coach, somebody that can help you, especially during these trying times, right? This is the epitome of if you're in the arena and doing the work. We have to really push out all that negativity and work on our own goals, because amazing things happen when there's this much change for small business owners that embrace it and not push it away. So I highly recommend, if you don't have a mastermind, a coach, now is the time, because everybody else is kind of running scared. So if you're interested in my mastermind group, go check out eventualmillionaire.com/apply. We are taking applications now for our April group. So make sure you check that out. And of course, let us know if you have any questions. I will only accept you if I think it's the absolute right fit for you and your business and where you want to go. Either way, have an utterly fantastic, amazing day. Stay tuned.
Potent advice and inspiration from real self-made millionaires. Welcome to the Eventual Millionaire with your host, Jaime Masters.
Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I am Jaime Masters, and today on the show, we have Ken Foster. You can check out his new book in the background. It's called The Courage to Change Everything, and you can go to couragetochange.us to go grab it. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Jaime, I'm so happy to be on your show. I've heard a lot about you and what you're up to, so it's a privilege.
Well, and great. You have an amazing background. So first, I want you to share a little bit about your background, but then I really want to dive into the content of the book, because I think it's imperative for entrepreneurs to have courage. So tell me a little bit about your business skills.
Well, I started business right out of college. I started a chain of waterbed stores. Second year into it, we were making a little over $1 million a year. That was a great experience for me, although about 3 years into it, we overspent and we were out of business. And that was the best lesson that ever happened to me, I think. Shortly thereafter, I decided I was going to start another company. I started a manufacturing company. And that business, I eventually sold to my brother. He ran it for another 15 years, something like that, till he decided to close that business. And, from there, I went on to I wanted to study money. I wanted to learn how money works. So I went and became a stockbroker, a security principal, arbitrator for NASD, and ended up starting from scratch and running a $200 million financial services company. From there, I decided I wanted to go into being an entrepreneur myself. So that's when I decided I was going to start a company called Premier Coaching and start to coach people how to do the business principles that I had already learned and help them to not only do business, but also to have a balanced life with it all. So that's kind of my background. Last 24 years, I've been business strategist. I'm also a best-selling author. I've got 7 books out. I'm a keynote speaker, and I'm also a radio show host on Voices of Courage. We were in 160 countries, a couple hundred stations, 7 networks, and we're on podcast, radio, and TV. So that's what I do.
I wanted you to go through everything because it's insane. And wherever anyone is right now, it always feels like, oh, I don't have enough time to do all these things. You have such a wide array of different things that you've done and so much experience in coaching, which is awesome because you were probably way before me. And I really appreciate it. What made you really go into the courage side of things? Why courage?
Well, I was reviewing my life a few years back and thinking, what's that one ingredient that seems to be the thread through my life that I can't see, but everybody else can see? And it was courage. And even as a child, I was a very courageous child. I would be leading all the boys in the neighborhood, building go-karts and doing all kinds of stuff, right, as a kid. And I thought, that's interesting. And then I thought, we don't talk about courage much in the country. We proclaim to be a courageous nation, but we're more of a fear-based nation, is what I look at. A lot of people, if I ask you, how do you feel? What does fear feel like? And you're going to be able to go right into that. You say, I feel a little stressed. My heart might feel constricted. My head might start to, I might not think as clearly. And I thought, that's interesting. Tell me how courage feels. Nobody knows. I thought that's interesting. Maybe we need to tune into our courage, and tune into that energy behind courage. Because see, courage is the bridge from from poverty to wealth. It's the bridge from becoming struggling as an entrepreneur and becoming a millionaire. It's the bridge between having a great relationship, having a terrible relationship. It's the bridge between having great partnerships and having terrible partnerships. It is the bridge. And most of us don't tune into it.
Not even a little bit. So what does courage feel like? Like, tell us so that way at least we have a good idea in case we don't know.
Well, okay, so think of one thing that you want to accomplish in your life. I don't care what it is. You want to double your revenues. You want to bring in a new partner. You want to have better relationships. Whatever that is going on right now for you. Think of one thing you want to go. I want this done. Now, think about the fears around it first. What are you afraid of? And some of you are going, nothing, I'm good. There's no fear. I can overcome this. That's great. It's a great attitude. But tune in and get clear with the results you're getting right now. Now, whatever those results are, they may be good, they may be dismal, they may be okay. Wouldn't you like to take those results and have outstanding results? So now I'd like you to tune in and just ask one question. If you were courageous, if I was courageous, what are the 3 steps I'd take today? If I was courageous, what are the 3 steps I'd take today? Now, just for a moment, tune into what that feels like when you start to ask that. Most likely, you're going to feel a sense of expansion in your mind. Your body's going to kind of open up. You're going to start going, wow, just 3 steps. I can do that. You'll start to feel empowered. And that's what courage feels like. So if you do that consistently, your life's going to change. Your business is going to change. Everything's going to change.
Do you feel like people? It's funny. I just went skydiving the other day for the first time, and I was
congratulations.
And it was the point was for me to just do something really, really scary. Do you feel like that directly translates though? Because I feel like in some areas of my life I'm super courageous, and in other ones I'm not so much.
Well, everybody has areas that are super courageous and not so much. Most people aren't like running on fire in every area of their life. So it's really those areas that we need to look at. Here's how I look at life. I always look at results. Okay, what kind of results am I getting? Whether it be in business, let's talk about business. Whether it be what are the results I'm getting in my turnover rates? What are the results I'm getting in my admin? What are the results I'm getting in customer service? What are the results I'm getting in my financial goals? What are those results, right? So we have to start with results because that's where it tells us where we need to improve, right? So most people, they look at their results maybe once a week, some that are really on top of it. A lot of people don't look at their results, but maybe once a month. And a lot of people just once a year. They set New Year's resolutions and fail on those things, right? But here's what I've learned. And I'll tell you a story before I tell you what I've learned. There's a friend of mine. His name is John Foley. And John used to fly for the Blue Angels. He was the lead pilot and lead teacher for the Blue Angel flying team here in the United States. And he was telling me, they would fly at each other at about 500 miles an hour, 1,000 miles per hour closing speed, right? And they'd miss each other by just a few feet, right, doing the air shows. He said at the end of that, every single time, what they would do is they would have a meeting, a debrief meeting, and they'd call it feedback meetings. So they would ask themselves what worked, what didn't work, and what can we do better? Well, that's what I do every day, and that's what all my clients do every day. We've incorporated that into a habit of success. Every single day, we're getting feedback. We're getting feedback in our businesses. We're getting feedback in our personal lives. We're asking this every day. Imagine what your life would be like if you did that every day. Well, I can tell you, it changes. A lot of people go, I don't want to look at my stuff because it upsets me. Well, you have to look at it dispassionately. No passion, just what worked, what didn't work, and what can I do differently? Now, that differently piece is the courage piece, right? Because then you got to tune into, okay, if I were courageous, what are the steps I'll take now?
So give me some examples of this feedback, like what levels? Because otherwise we're just getting, for me anyway, too many things to do and not enough time to do it, right? So I can improve everything. I'm a constant improver, except I can't because I don't have enough time and space.
Okay, well, that always comes down to priorities, doesn't it?
Yes, it
So
does.
the first thing we have to do is prioritize. Okay. So if you've got, in fact, this is just something I just did the other day. I had all this chaos on my desk and I was looking at lots of pieces of paper, people I've talked to, everything going on. I was like, okay, I need to prioritize that. So I did. I made my list. I prioritized exactly what I need to do. And then I started acting and doing that, right? So it really comes down to nobody has enough time to do everything. So you can prioritize. And then here's the other thing for me. I've been really successful in building teams around me. Collaboration is the name of the game today in business. If you're a business between zero and a couple $1 million in revenue, you are in a place where you've got to build out that team. And a lot of people are afraid to build out their teams. They're afraid, well, what happens if the money stops and I don't have enough money if you're a startup, right? Or they're afraid they won't hire the right person, or they're afraid that they don't have the right contracts in place. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. But what I say is this: it's like get clear with who you are, what you're about. Okay, get clear with your values. Know that you are a powerful. Here's where I go. I tell myself every day, and I remind myself that I am a powerful, infinite being filled with grace and joy and everything I need to accomplish what I need to do. Now, why do I say that? Because a lot of times we forget who we are. We forget how powerful we are. We forget how far we've come. So if you tune into that first and then start prioritizing and then start taking actions, everything changes for the better. And honestly, it takes courage to do that.
Totally. Okay, so let's dive deep into that because it is the way that our focus goes, right? We know that's really, really important. So when we're focusing on being amazing and full of grace and infinite being, that's awesome. And then the day happens, right? So I meditate every single day. So at the beginning, I feel great, right? And then
Yep.
life starts to happen. And how do you recalibrate that? Because I also agree with you. You shouldn't be making decisions from a state of fear or from, you know what I mean? How do you keep recalibrating that over and over? Because in business, you're getting thrown at darts all the time going, oh, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. How do you recalibrate?
That's a really great question. First of all, I start out with the success habit you have. I start out with meditation. I start out with using this book right here, The Courage to Change Everything, because it's broken down into daily strategies. And it's written in a way for everybody that has 10 minutes of their day or they want to create a new success habit. It takes about 10 minutes a day to go through the guidance for the day. And then I go out and I exercise and then I start my day. The thing that I find most effective in when life happens is to start out with the understanding that it's coming. Okay, it's coming. I just don't know when.
Yep.
So if I know it's coming, I'm prepared. I'm a warrior. I'm looking out there. Business sometimes is a battle.
Seriously.
So I'm looking for the next thing that's going to happen. So, and I also set my intention that when it does happen, not to react. How do I do that? Now that's easy to say, but how do you do that? Well, it takes a lot of work is what I found over the years. When I do react in my mind, I stop, I go back and I replay how I could have done that better. In every scenario, I'm constantly asking myself, how could I improve the next time? And the other thing I ask myself is, what would a person have to believe to react the way I reacted? So I pull it back on me. I don't look at put blame on anybody else or any other circumstance. I believe every circumstances that's coming to me is to empower me, to grow me, to help me be all I'm meant to be. So every challenge that's there, the ones that I hate that are there, those are the ones that grow me the most, and they'll grow you the most. So it's really a matter of taking full responsibility for everything that's showing up and looking at it from a place of where can I develop, where can I grow, where can I expand, Where can I become a better version of myself?
Okay, I love all of this and nobody wants to hear that it's practice and it has to happen every single day and you have to get good at it after many, many, many years of time because we want a quick fix, of course. But these patterns are kind of ingrained. I mean, especially the beliefs that you're saying for the layers underneath. How long does it take you, right? Because we're getting thrown these all the time, and then over and over and over again, we continue to try and get that feedback and go, "Oh, I should have done better. That belief just got triggered again. Oh, that belief just got triggered again." Do you need courage to like stop the belief, or can you stop it, or is it just eventually it goes away?
First of all, you got to understand where it's coming from. So 9 times out of 10, every time you react, it's coming from a place of fear, and it's a fear of, if you memorize these two fears, you will really transform probably 90% of it because you'll get it. So the two fears of this: the fear of losing what you have, and the fear of not getting what you want. So if you just practice that just today, listen, anytime you react, you ask yourself, what am I afraid of that I'm not going to get? What am I afraid of that I'm going to lose? That will wipe out a lot of it and listen, here's the other part. Are you choosing to live a fear-based life, or are you choosing to live a courageous life? If you're choosing to live a fear-based life, which most people in our country had just been programmed that way, it's not their fault. It's not my fault. I grew up in a household that was, really everything that we did was kind of fear-based, or guilt-based, or shame-based, or whatever. But that's the household I grew up in. They're all loving, wonderful people, but that's the communication style that they learned from their parents. So if you want to break that pattern, we have to become aware. We have to become conscious of how we are reacting. So here's the deal. You got to remember this too. We're all infinite beings, right? We all know that. So it's, we all come from this thing. Well, we don't all know that, but I know that. We come from this place of spirit or God or universe, whatever. I don't care what name you put it, but we all come out of that. So that's kind of over the individual souls that we are. So spirit's over soul. Soul is over the mind, conscious, subconscious, and superconscious minds. Mind is over emotion, emotion over actions, actions over results, results over destiny. But it all starts at the level of, most people just play at the level of trying to reprogram their subconscious mind. But the wise understand that that's really important. We need to reprogram and rethink and dip our minds in astute wisdom and success principles on a consistent basis every day if possible. We also need to, like you do and I do, meditate and go into states of superconscious where we can develop our intuition, where we start to understand that life is a lot greater than everything we think. I don't care if we're in business. I don't care if it's a personal relationship. There is in my experience, there is a spiritual solution to everything. Doesn't mean that we're going to implement it in our life unless we start to have the right subconscious beliefs that are programmed into our mind, that we've consciously made a choice to do that. That's why I wrote this book, by the way, The Courage to Change Everything, because it's daily strategies of I studied the wise sages from the East, from India, from China, from Japan, some of the real deep sages and the mystics from the East. But I also combined it with the cutting edge wealth principles and strategies from the West. We're real good at that. So I combine those two, so you're dripping wisdom on your mind and wealth principles on your mind every single day. And then there's specific actions to take every day, because if we just think it, nothing's going to happen. We got to act through it every single day, right? We all know that.
A million times, yes. Okay, and it's funny. During my meditation, I have a daily devotional that's not. It's actually business centric, which is kind of funny. So now I can't wait to get your book, so that way I can add that one to my repertoire, because it adds up. And I'm coming from, I was atheist and agnostic before I started a business, and then when you're like, wow, what the heck is going on? I learned a lot, right? The evolution and being able to have faith is an amazing gift in business, because if you don't have it, you drive yourself a little crazy, for everybody that's listening. So hopefully you do. And if you don't, I highly recommend going down that path, because you start to uncover so much more about us as humans and humanity, and to know that you're not alone in feeling like this world is a little crazy sometimes, right? We go through a lot.
The world is crazy, right? I mean, come on. We got crazy people showing up all the time doing crazy things. Just turn on the news. Or maybe you want to turn off the news so you're not seeing that program in your head with that all the time. But yeah, it's a wild place to be. But if you are committed to what, I don't care what it is. Um, I mean, hopefully it's something to be of service to others in the world. It's not just about making money. It's really about, it's great to make money. I love making money, but it's also about giving back. But if you're tuned into something that you're passionate about, if you've got real drive and real purpose, there's nothing that you can't overcome. There's nothing. Okay. But let's talk about making a lot of money, being a millionaire. Being a millionaire for most is a quest. It's not something that you show up and you find the ideal product. Now, some people do. You just watch Shark Tank, and I was watching it last night, and somebody came up with a new sock for kids, right? Just a simple thing, and I'm sure they'll be an instant millionaire with that because they got the funding. So sometimes that happens. But listen, for 99.9% of us, you're going to have to change your thoughts, change your way you act, and change your environments, and change what your daily habits are. And when you do that, what's going to happen is all of a sudden things are going to start to open up for you in greater and greater and greater ways. So someday you wake up and you look back in time and you say, wow, look at how I've changed. Look at how much money's come into my life. Look at how many amazing people has come into my life. But that all takes, for most of us, devotion and time and some effort.
Effort, yes. We cannot forget the effort because for better or for worse, right? And one of the things that came up for me when you were saying that, which I think is my personal question for you, I've been trying to get deeper into the intuition side and actually listening to it. Instead of being told what to do from the outside, sometimes though the intuition sounds a little crazy or a little like jump off a cliff or something in a completely different direction. So how do you, I mean, I know that's where we need courage, but can you give me some examples of how to know which is the right way to go, especially if it does seem a little disconnected?
Sure, absolutely. I remember when I was first really becoming conscious of intuition, and I really wanted to learn how to tune into that little small voice that is 100% right all the time. And I had a good model. The model was my wife. She had been practicing meditation 20 years before me. So, and I've been doing it decades, but when we first met, she had been there a couple, 20 years ahead. We'd be driving in the car and she'd say, I think we need to turn left here. And I would go, well, that makes no sense. That's a much longer way. And I'd say, we need to go right. And sure enough, I'd be driving the car. I'd turn right and we'd hit a roadblock, or the road was closed, or some weird thing would happen. And this happened consistently until I started going, oh, my wife is incredibly intuitive. I need to start to learn how to be receptive to her intuition and tune into my own thoughts. In fact, at the time, my intuition was so messed up, I just had to go opposite of what I was thinking, and it was perfect. So that was my gift. So how do we develop intuition? Well, everybody has it, by the way. Most of the time we call it gut instinct or have a feeling, but most people's intuition is undeveloped. Now imagine in business. Imagine that you are a business owner that is you're developing this thing we call intuition, and all of a sudden you're making better choices every single day. Imagine how your business would be in about a year from now or 2 years from now. So this is a really important piece to develop. How do we develop intuition? Well, we develop it by a couple ways. First of all, it's really important to pour out the crap that's in our head. So pour out the old beliefs and choices, anything that happened in the past, any failures, resentments, any hurts or harms or anything that we're carrying around in our head. It's really good to make a conscious choice to release that. And by the way, anybody that buys my new book right now, Courage to Change Everything, and they can get it at couragetochange.us. If you buy that book, there's a program that I've included right now. I don't know how long I'm going to keep it, but it's called Release, Renew, Evolve. And it helps you to do just that. I help you to start from your childhood and up to where you currently are, asking specific questions to pull out the trash from the subconscious mind so that you can look at it from one moment, make a conscious choice to release it and let it go. Now, it is a spiritual practice in that book. There is a place where we pray in the beginning, we pray in the end. If you don't like that, throw out those pieces. If you're an agnostic or an atheist, it works anyway because we're based on making conscious choice. So that's a piece you'll need to pour out that. Second is just like Jaime and I do, meditation is probably the number one way when you've let go of all this garbage that you can start to hear that little small voice. So it's a place where you start to still your mind, still your thoughts, be able to open up to something greater than yourself. And it's not about forcing something new to come in. It's allowing yourself to be in a space where you become aware of your thoughts. For me, one of the first experiences I had in meditation, Jaime, was I realized that I just have all these thoughts, but I'm not those thoughts. I'm the observer of those thoughts. You probably had that same experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's that part that the observer is the soul. And that is when we can connect with that piece, that's where the intuitive thoughts start to flow. Einstein said, all I want to know are the thoughts of God. The rest are details. Why did he say that? He was a pretty smart guy because he knew that we needed to tune in to those higher realms of consciousness. Leonardo da Vinci said, isolation is the price of greatness, right? Why did he say that? Because there's a part of us that we need to take that time to still our minds, to go within ourselves, to be able to consciously awaken to this thing we call the soul. And in that awakening, what happens is you start to see the unseeable, you start to know the unknowable, and you start to be able to do the impossible.
Preach. Okay, I love that. So what's interesting though, after hundreds of interviews, because again, I came from programming. I was an engineer before all this. So very, very logical in my head constantly. And I started interviewing, and these topics kept coming up over and over and over again. But intuition sounds so squishy for somebody that's a programmer or somebody that's listening, right? So we have quite a few people that love that piece. But even the entrepreneurs that are here, when I mention meditation, they're like, I'm an overthinker. I can't shut off my thought. I can't do, right? There's always pushback in regards to that. So what do you tell people that feel like they can't even get that close?
You're right. You can't. It's hard.
Stop trying. You're fine.
You're screwed, man. Just stop trying, right? Yeah. Don't move on. Don't try to overcome that. Just stop. Yeah. No, for all of us, it's where I started. I started in a place where I could sit still for maybe 5 minutes, and even that time, I'd be moving my legs around. I'd be kind of I had this nervous energy when I first started this. So we start wherever we start. But there's so much available now for you to be able to quickly learn how to meditate. When I was skiing, I'm a skier, and I was up at Mammoth one day, and this fella that had been skiing for about 30 years at the time was skiing with me, and we were going down a hill with these moguls with big giant bumps the size of Volkswagens, right? And I was freaking out, and I was like, how am I going to do this? I've been skiing for years. And he said, Ken, stop. Let me give you one technique. It'll change everything. And he gave me that technique, and I skied those moguls like never before. And I ski them to this day because I have the technique. I know how to do it. It's the same thing with meditation. We have to get the right techniques to learn how to quiet our mind, still our mind, and go deeper. And for me, the path that I chose, because I searched a whole bunch of them, but I wanted to get the techniques of meditation from where they originated. I don't know about you. I kind of like going to the source. So I started studying one of the yogis His name is Paramahansa Yogananda, and they had techniques that took me, and was amazing because I had just met my wife and didn't know she was going to be my wife at the time, but she invited me to an 8-hour meditation, and I had about 2 months to prepare for it. And I got these techniques, and I was able to get to that 8-hour meditation, and I was able to be in a meditation for 8 hours. 8 hours. Can you imagine that? So those techniques were incredibly strong, and it caught my attention. And I've been practicing those techniques now for the last couple of decades. But that's what we need to do. You need to find the right techniques. In fact, if anybody goes to my site, kendfoster.com, and click on my resource page, there's a free, I call it the Science of Meditation, I think it is. There's a free download and some guided meditations there that you can get. The download talks about studies from MIT and Harvard about the benefits of meditation. It gives you specific instructions on how to set your posture correct for meditation. And it gives you 3 different options of ways to take a course. There's one Yogananda's in there, Deepak Chopra's in there, Wayne Dyer's in there. So you can take some meditation courses if you'd like to find out more about this.
I love it, especially because we're entrepreneurs. We can solve any problem except when we don't think we can, and then therefore we can't, right?
If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So, if you think you can't be a meditator, great, you're right. But if you just open up the possibility that, wow, how many great people have meditated? Listen, on that path, that Yogananda path, I happen to know that Steve Jobs was on that path. By the way, the last gift that he gave everybody after he had passed, because Steve Jobs planned everything, even planned his memorial service before he passed. And he gave everybody a gift. And that gift, they opened up the box, and in that was the gift of a book from Paramahansa Yogananda. It was called the Autobiography of a Yogi. And Steve, his last message to everybody was self-actualize. That was his message, right? So he gave that book, Autobiography of a Yogi, and hey, that's my path. George Harrison, the Beatles, that's his path. Let's see, Robin Williams. You can't imagine how many people have decided that that's a good path because we all want self-realization.
So it's the correlation of the two, though. So a lot of people are like, I want the money. And then we've talked about the millionaire myth on this show so many times. Like, yeah, great. Money's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Love money. It's great. And doesn't solve all your problems. So making sure that you have, and feel free to make it first and then deal with it. But either way, you're probably going to come to the same result that everybody else that I interview. So why not start now so you can at least enjoy a little bit more of your life? I think that's one of the things you had written in some of your research and information is that the World Health Organization is classifying burnout now as a syndrome, and to be able to go, oh, we're driving ourselves crazy with this overthinking. There's got to be a better way, right?
There's got to be a better way, and there is a better way. And, we all have very busy lives. So what successful people do is we create success habits. Part of my success habit, and part of yours, Jamie, is meditation. Part of mine is exercise. Part of mine is what I eat. Part of mine is surrounding myself with the most amazing, incredible people that are twice as smart as me. And part of it is, like I said earlier, I'm noticing I take full responsibility for everything that shows up in my life. Doesn't matter what it is. I take responsibility, not from a place of shoulds or have to or guilt or I'm guilting myself or shaming myself for not doing something wrong. It's not that. I take it on to look at it dispassionately so I can make the right choices to make my life better and better. Can you imagine? I mean, I have the most amazing, blessed life today with the most amazing friends. And it all started from just every single day, dripping on my mind, taking specific actions, creating success habits. And everybody can do this. There's nobody that can't become a millionaire, can't become a powerful communicator, have great relationships if you're willing to work on it.
I love this. And yes, and even if you're not perfect, I know a lot of entrepreneurs are perfectionists. Give yourself a break and then start again the next day. I so appreciate this. I know we have to start wrapping up. So what is one action besides, of course, getting the book and then doing it every day? So not just getting the book, but reading the book and actually doing it every day, because the action definitely matters. What's one action that they can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal of $1 million?
Okay, so great action to incorporate in your life is just the one question we stated earlier in the show. So whatever that challenge is that you have that you want to overcome every single day, maybe you ask it 3 times a day, 4 times, 10 times. It doesn't, it does matter how many you ask, because the more you ask, the more you will start to tune into higher realms of consciousness and get the ideas for you. But the question is, if I were courageous, what would I do now? If I was courageous, what would I do now? Put that in your head, start thinking that every day. And then, like you said, go out and buy this book, The Courage to Change Everything, because it's powerful. It is life changing. And you only have to do this book 10 minutes a day. And it is business focused, so that you will, actually, it's business focused and mindful wisdom, so that you can really expand what's possible for you. Can't do it. Listen, your greatest thinking has got you where you are. So if you keep thinking it, you're going to stay where you are. You have to expand your thinking. You have to take on new beliefs. You have to expand, let go, expand what's possible, and let go of anything that has been stopping you. It all starts in the mind. The mind is the cause of our bondage. The mind is the cause of our liberation. If you start there, life will get better.
I love it. The better the question, the better the answer. And the more we do it and the more we tune in, the better it's going to get. So thank you for coming on the show. Where do we find more? I know we gave the websites before, but go ahead and give them, and where we can find you online if you're on social.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, you can tell Siri, Cortana, or Alexa just to play Voices of Courage podcast, and you'll hear me and all my amazing guests every day, every week, whatever you want. You can also get me at couragetochange.us, couragetochange.us. And you can find me at kendfoster.com. Again, kendfoster.com.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
I love being on your show, Jamie. Love your questions. And you are doing some great work in this world. So just keep it up. And I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Have an amazing, amazing day. And hopefully I'll do this again. I'll invite you back on the show.
I'd love to be back. You let me know.
Thank you.
Take care.
If you enjoy this show, I would really appreciate your wonderful words of feedback. Go leave me a review. I would love a rating, whatever you can do in the time that you've got. I would so appreciate it.